things went okay. Like it's fine. They didn't go crazy like I thought they would, so that's always good. I think they kind of left me alone. But I have plenty to talk about, and it's all bad. Like I don't even know where to start, Jeff. Like I don't
Start,
know.
start at the most interesting. First off, how you doing? I guess
Not great.
not
Not
great.
great. No, not great. Like I feel like I don't know. Well, okay, we're trying to entertain people here. So let's
Mhm.
get to some entertainment. Let's start where we're at. I
I'm in Atlanta.
personally You're in Atlanta. How's Verizon treating you?
Oh man. As of right now, I haven't had service since 12:30 in the afternoon. It's what as of on the Eastern time. As of
Yeah.
recording, it is 8:04. So basically, my workday got cut short entirely because of Verizon BS. So that
It's
was sort of
just
like what it was. I was lucky. I was with my coworker who does not have Verizon because it would have taken me a very long time to find my hotel if I didn't have to. It just
I mean, Ma Bell never let us down like this. They might have had a CIA backdoor into every single phone line, but
it worked.
AT&T would never. And if you're old like me and you know Ma Bell and all your little bells that
All the
got
bells. My
broken
dad
up.
worked for the bells. My dad worked for South Central Bell.
Nice.
He
I
was a
don't know.
phone
The,
guy.
the only bell I ever messed with was GTE in St. Petersburg and Cincinnati Bell. But yeah, that was a fun time where we cared about monopolies and corporate, influence and control. It's like, look, we're gonna break you up, but y'all still get to have your CIA back room, in every single office. So that's the price you got to pay. It was such a quaint time in
Also,
America
it
when
doesn't
we
really
used to
matter to
listen to
them
good
if it
conservative
works or
stuff.
not, like, at this point, because they have everything locked down just so perfectly
Yeah.
that, like, they could just have their critical infrastructure, which I would say that cellular communications at this point, the way it's used in our society is critical infrastructure, can just be shut down for a day,
Hmm.
and they can just sort of like walk away from it, no big deal. And this is, by the way, the second time this has happened to me with Verizon. Last summer, I remember because it was hot and I had a meeting where I'm trying to turn out workers and I need to call them all and text them all or whatever. And Verizon goes down. It's just like, well, guess we're screwed. Guess I'll die.
I mean, it's not I wouldn't even say it's a Verizon problem. It's a problem of the just there's a word for it. And since this will eventually go on WHIV 102.3 FM New Orleans into all wars, um, the word I can't say because it starts with a naughty FCC word. But I mean, the FCC's woke anyway. We can really just do whatever we wanted. I mean, to be honest, like the only person who could stop us at this point is Mark Allen Derry. We could draw the line here and just do the new Howard Stern show, and I don't think the FCC's coming, dude. I don't think they're the only thing. Like if it wasn't, maybe if we had a strong enough following and it was anti-Trump and political, they'd come for us. But if we were just on here just doing farts, like
Honk
1990s,
honk.
yeah, like and we had like Hank the Angry Dwarf or whatever. Like no one, the FCC wouldn't care. They wouldn't care at all, and we'd probably be rich. But whatever. It is what it is. Everything's falling apart. The empire's collapsing at a accelerated rate.
Well,
In the
not only
exact
is it collapsing, it's
Yeah,
like lashing out at every conceivable target. Like right now, I mean, Venezuela. Like since we talked about Venezuela in our last call, it's lashing inward when we have cops shooting a woman twice, and then you have the meal team six out there slipping on the ice because we
yeah.
all know that fascists do not do good in cold conditions. History bears that out.
That's so funny. Good job. If you're a history nerd who only reads books about like pop books about war history, yeah, that's a good one. Don't let them tell.
But
Don't
like,
let
like
them say you're not funny. You don't know. Don't ever let them tell you you're not funny, Jeff, and that you don't know your audience. because that was directly that hit me right in the funny ha-has.
But then also like at the same time, like you essentially have us pushing for regime change in Iran. And like this is not me stepping up and saying that the, Khamenei and other the supreme rulers over there are good, but like the way that the West just decides that they want to meddle and sort of like use that opportunity, any opportunity to replace what they view as a unfriendly government and replace, they'll just call it repressive. They'll call Iran repressive, but then they allow Saudi Arabia to exist. Like that's not a repressive government.
I mean, I honestly, I didn't have on my bingo card of dystopia. I thought we would. I mean, it's still open.
We bombed Iran last year, so I guess it's not that crazy, right?
No, it's not. My point is that the book's not written, so we could go into Mad Max. We could do that. We could do pre-Starfleet Third World War. I think we're leaning towards pre-Starfleet World War III. Is the dystopia, I think. But if we're in one right now, it's a mix between 1984 and also it's cyberpunk 1984, which maybe if Orwell had the vision, he would have made. I mean, kind of 1984 is a cyberpunk world anyway. Big technology's always watching you. Yeah, I'm gonna call it
before cyberpunk.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it. It's cyberpunk. It's cyberpunk before Snow Crash. If you've read that
cyberpunk, you don't really quite have all the like crazy body augmentations in the same way,
If you've read and this is your friendly reminder, if you've read Snow Crash or played Shadowrun, you need to have a date with grass. You need to go touch it. Just to let you know, because that's where I'm at. I'm super into that stuff. But my point is,
so you're talking to yourself. You're saying you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you are. You're deep into the foolishness. When you're talking about Iran, and you touched on it really succinctly, is that the absurdity. It's Salvador Dali levels of absurdity that our own Gestapo is doing crystal knot all over the country. We just blast they just shot a woman in the face 3 times for nothing. They are trying to investigate somehow her widow for some alleged crime.
I'm sure they'll slip a transvestigation in there somewhere too, probably.
But I'm supposed to believe that the United States is worried about the civil rights and human rights of Mossad-backed protesters in Iran. What world is this, dude?
It is so crazy to see like Donald Trump one day saying like we can shoot anybody that we want on the streets, and then the next day coming out and saying Iran, throw off your oppressors. It's just like wow. It is so like it's just like whiplash. I get whiplash in my neck. My head just starts spinning around, and my eyeballs just start doing that slot machine thing you see in the cartoons. It's like this is just so unbelievably like. And it's designed to be that way. Like it's designed to be so sort of like disharmonious in terms of like just general logic that you just cannot make any kind of sense of it. It makes sense only if you look at it from the actual goal, which is to destabilize not just other countries in the world, but also here. The order of this country is being uprooted and put into a worse version of it.
I just really think that, and you didn't do anything wrong. Like we critique each other all the time whenever we record together. It's like you didn't do anything wrong with like your throat clearing of like, the IRGC is not great. Iran's government and the way they do business over there is not good. But I think we're at a time where it's like when you're talking to me and we're talking to the audience who's listening to this, I completely understand why you do it, because you want to be objective. You want to be fair. You don't want anybody,
it's important to be accurate.
Yeah. But like to the normal person on the street, to the guy in your office, like there's no reason to even throat clear with that, because I was trying to describe, I had a funny conversation the other day, and how, it's kind of, there's two types of people. I think of like the people at my work are who that's kind of the cold, like the temperature check on like America, because there's all kinds of it's um gender diversity, racial diversity, political diversity. You've got, lefties like me who work there. You've got liberals, you've got hard right people, you got people who claim they're apolitical, but they're actually right wing. It's the whole gamut. And I was talking to somebody because, it's getting bad when like the apolitical guys joking around like, man, I should think about leaving America. And I'm like, it's already too late, dog. And he's like, well, where can I go that doesn't have extradition if they try to come for me? I'm like, Iran's a place. He's like, I ain't living in no Iran. And I'm like, bro, let me show you some pictures of Iran, like the north of Iran in the mountains. You would think it was Colorado. I've never been to Iran. The only things I know are through books and documentaries and things I've read. Like, if you want to know more about Iran, I know it's old, but like Rick Steves has a really good Rick Steves Europe. He has a really good like 2-hour thing about Iran. It's really eye-opening if you don't know anything.
Rick Steves and Anthony Bourdain are like the two probably like most incredible like culture critics of our lifetimes, I will say.
Honestly, yeah, I've had this thought in my head to where I think like Rick Steves should do it as a this is a side thing, and the people who are listening on the radio, people online listening to this will get this. People on the radio will have to be filled in. But I think that Rick Steves should do his last little thing he should do for like travel or whatever. He should do a travel show with IShowSpeed. And then at the end, he kind of just like ceremoniously like hands over. He's like, this is yours now. Like this is your thing to do. Because they've both done the same, like it's different. The difference flavors.
Is that like you don't see IShowSpeed like Rick Steves did some epic stuff, but he's not doing like the athletically epic stuff that IShowSpeed does. IShowSpeed is an amazing athlete.
Yeah, but that's not his lane. My point is that they're both doing the same thing.
They fit in similar cultural lanes, though. 100%.
They're going to places where, like, through jingoism, Western propaganda, we've been told that you'll immediately have your head cut off, and just showing that that's not the truth. That's not it. And like, yeah, Iran's not perfect, but the way I would describe it. And again, I've never been there. I've never lived there. I'd love to talk to, I'd love to talk to an Iranian who's like not hopped up on the Shah. I like somebody with like kind of an objective, but in my idea is that Iran is a lot like America. Yeah, there's plenty of places Robert Johnson does not want to run out of gas in America. I do not want to be. And I suspect it's the same in Iran. Iran has the deep South fundamentalism where you do not want to stop for gas. And they have places where it's not like that at all. And it's just, that's the diversity of the country. Yeah. And we don't even have to argue about like, are they good? Are they bad? The things that we know, all we have to do is look at the things that we know for sure. The same rules apply with Maduro. You and Station
WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3 Good Morning Comrade. Right. And the other thing too, and this is like the key piece. And this is why it really kind of doesn't matter if these protesters in Iran are backed by Mossad or not. Like, it really doesn't matter because
they are. I mean, Israel is bragging about it.
Sure.
So it's not like a conspiracy. We're not doing the JQ. We're not doing.
But like, that's not my point.
Israel runs the world. It's just the truth.
No, that's not my point though. Because the real, like, the outcome of what is going to happen when the United States and Israel gets involved is they're going to make the situation worse, no matter what the reality is. We our entire adult lives, the United States has just done regime change after regime change after regime change, and it has never gone in a way that has been like, wow, thanks America for really like you don't have a whole lot of Afghans that are just like, good job guys, you displaced the Taliban and now they're back in charge, and all we had to do was have a million of us killed over the past 25 years, or like that's just like the other thing too, like the reality of like what we just discussed is not, I mean, sure, Israel's claiming credit, but like regardless, we're gonna mess some stuff up, and we're gonna kill a lot of people, and we're gonna leave that place worse than we found it, and that's what's important.
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, you read my mind. I was literally going to say the exact same thing, is that it doesn't matter. All those questions don't matter about the things that we can just take the things that we know for sure. The 100% through, just the laws of average, there are legitimate, what's the word I'm looking for? Legitimate, good faith protesters on the ground who are being brutalized by this regime. Mm-hmm. Also, there's Mossad agents on the ground who are firing live rounds at government officials. Sure. And the government officials are firing back. Those are things we know for sure. And the third thing that we know for sure is that doing a kinetic strike, a bombing against Iran is not gonna bring any kind of social democracy to one Iranian. Not one.
We've already done this.
So how is that going to do?
We've already done this in Iran in the 1950s.
Exactly. Well, honestly,
we overthrow Mossadegh. We replace him with the Shah, and essentially like just kill so many people. And then less than 2 decades later, you have a revolution in Iran where the Shah gets overthrown, and now we have the regime, and a regime that's been in place for the past 50 years. And love them or lump them, they are an absolutely direct, they're a direct response to American foreign policy, and that's just it. That's what it is.
I mean, to be honest, like there's got to be. I would love to be a fly on the wall or talk to an actual good faith government, IRGC dissident in Iran right now, because from my perspective, sitting here in America, if we had the Good Morning Comrade show in America, in Iran, and we're talking about Iranian issues, and we're talking about how the IRGC needs to go with this like latest uprising, I would be like, I would tell my listeners, do not hit the streets, sit this one out, leave it alone. And the reason why is because what this is looking like to me as somebody who's, hey, I remember current events. This looks like Israel and the United States setting the Iranian people up just like they set the Kurds up in Iraq, where we said the CIA went right into Iraq and said, hey, Kurds, rise up. Get your
we got you, don't worry.
Yeah, we got you. As soon as you rise up, we're gonna take out Saddam, and everything's gonna be. You got the backing of the American military and the CIA. And as soon as the Kurds rose up, we were nowhere to be found. And all those Kurds got captured and executed by Saddam Hussein's Ba'athist Party. So it's like these are things that happen in reality. How can you trust the United States? It's to the point.
You left one part out, which is then we can be like, oh, wow, look at this atrocity that they did to the Kurds. Now we can be even more bellicose going forward.
100%. The Iranian people are being sent to the slaughter. If we're to the point, honestly, it's that if the United States, and this is, it gets joked about, people who are on the max left like us, we always get accused of being like, oh, everything America does is bad. That's all you guys think. America bad. But if you're in the ground in Iran and you're a dissident and America is backing your uprising, I would want nothing to do with it. Right. I would be like, oh, that's a wrap, boys. If America says it's good, then it's obviously bad. It's obviously bad for us. And that's all that needs to be said. Like, this is just history just keeps repeating itself over and over again with just more extreme intensity every time we do this cycle. This boom and this, I shouldn't say boom and bust, this bust and bust and bust and bust cycle. over and over
Bloodbath
again.
after bloodbath after
Yeah.
bloodbath after bloodbath. It's just like, I mean, again, there's actually, I mean, you know Howard Zinn, the
Yeah.
author of like the People's History of the United States. He actually did a graphic novel a number of years ago of I think it was called The People's History of the American Empire. I had it somewhere. I know I had it before I moved, but it just basically had illustrations of every American imperial atrocity since the Spanish American War. It's just like, yeah,
It's
I
just
mean,
yeah,
it's
it's so
from,
gross.
I believe it starts there, and then it just sort of like jumps up to Iran, Vietnam, all the way through like Iraq and Afghanistan.
I mean, can you give me one
I mean, the
American
version of
military action that was not cynical, self-serving, and ultimately destructive on, on whatever peoples that we targeted to? And don't say World War II. You cannot say that. That's the Soviets. That the Soviets
Well, they were
Kennedy did
definitely
that
ones that
everything.
brought that baby home. I mean, like the
Yeah,
whole reason there was a race to Berlin was because they didn't want the Soviets to beat them there.
right. So yeah, you can't say that. Like, not we have never been right. Like
I also
every
just to kind of like stay on the Eastern Front for just a minute because
yeah.
like Americans don't know a damn thing about the Eastern Front of the Second World War. Like thousands of miles where there were thousands of battles and just so many people were just absolutely slaughtered on either side. The idea, the mere the notion that you could invade Russia and make your way all the way through the frozen like tundras of Russia to get to Moscow is just ridiculous, especially in the
Yes.
winter when it gets cold and you got Nazis out there walking around in like linen.
Mhm.
They ain't ready for that. They can't do it. They can't do it. They're too bitch made. They're
I
soft.
mean, it's not even that they were bitch made. It's
I mean, they
that
were bitch made.
they
Don't
were
don't
bitch made,
that
but it's
twisted.
just like you are not going to get involved in a land. What did it say? Fazzini and Princess Bride, like, don't
Oh
get
yeah,
involved
no,
in a
never get
land
in the
war in
land war in
Asia.
Asia, and
Like, that's what you're doing.
never go in against never go in against the Sicilian when death is on the
Death is on the
line.
line. Oh, God, Wallace, that guy's so awesome. Wallace Shawn or whatever. He's so cool. I was
Yeah,
just watching one
Walshawn's
of
an
my.
amazing actor,
I'm in my
and he's
fugue
got taste
state.
opinions.
Yeah, I'm in my fugue state of like how I'm not crashing out right now, and I'm just been rewatching Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the like
Yeah,
revolutionary Star Trek, and I've just been rewatch. I've probably watched it in the last month like 3 times from first season to last because I just have it on when I'm doing stuff, and yeah, like that's a really good show if you want to watch about like revolution and taking on fascism and so forth. But that's how I've been. He's so good in that show. But
Walshawn. I've never watched Deep Space Nine, so I guess
oh,
pretty good.
he's the de facto president of Ferenginar, which is like he's the Grand Nagus, which is the Ferengi like president. And
The big dog.
you want to talk about some anti-Semitism? The whole Ferengi race are just like the worst stereotypes of Jews, super anti-Semitic, and Deep Space Nine like saves them because the
Oh yeah.
writing's so good. Like they steer away from that. Yeah, because they're like hyper capitalists. They're always trying to like swindle you. It's that kind of deal. Like, oh, if you're not Ferengi, then we're gonna take every dime. We're gonna leave you with shoestrings hanging up your, because Ferengis are we've got the lobes, and it's like
Mm.
they've got like big like Semitic features, and it's like this is so
Uh,
bad. But then they saved the whole thing to where like Wallace Shawn like stops being the president and like retires and hands it over to like the leftist guy who's just like he's a Ferengi, but he's a bad Ferengi because he organized the union at where he works, and he
okay.
literally quotes Marx, and he does radical stuff like he allows women to wear clothes outside. because the whole idea is like they don't want women in the workforce, so that's why women like by law have to be naked everywhere. And so he's like, that's stupid. He's like, women are workers too. He literally says in the show, I'll have to send you the clip when they're organizing the bar. He says, workers of the world, it's like you have nothing to lose but your chains.
That's awesome.
It's so good, dude. Yeah, he's like such a hero. But yeah, that's what I've been doing to try to keep sane. But yeah, it's like there's no US intervention that's gonna, if you feel some type of way about the Iranian people, if you feel some type of way about Maduro in Venezuela, there's no American at its best. If we had the absolute best intentions, let's say we were like the world's good cop on the beat, right? And we had the absolute best intentions. There's no US intervention that's going to bring a solution which is going to satisfy the material needs of the people of both those nations. And to say that again, while we're going through Kristallnacht I took my little walk around New Orleans today, which I do at lunch. There's just National Guard everywhere for no reason on every street, just looking stupid.
Yeah. What is it, Operation Catahoula or whatever?
Something, but apparently
Catahoula Crunch or whatever.
Like ICE is pulled. No, they're not even ICE anymore because ICE didn't get the slave catchers didn't succeed here. We're too sparse. They didn't get the body count they wanted. They didn't get their nice little highlight reel. They didn't get a chance to like shoot somebody in the mag dump in a poor woman's face. So they actually pulled out and they got sent to Minnesota. So all we're left with now, I saw a state trooper walking around with an AR for some ungodly reason next to Jackson Square, and just 19-year-old National Guard kids just standing there stupid with tactical gear on with their hands in their pockets doing God knows what. Like the amount of unsafe I feel with all this on the street is just I feel.
You don't like Proud Boys walking the streets heavily armed?
My God, dude. My God. The way I feel for them because they're just kids. But at the end of the day, I'm like, everybody's got choices. You could choose not to report, dog. I'm sorry. Like you could. I know I would at this point. I know. I mean, I could say this because I've always been a rabble rouser and a troll. I'm like, this is just not the way when I was in the Marine Corps. Like I would never do something like this. I would have done my time. I would have got dishonorably discharged and got out. I would have just went to prison because it's like I'm not reporting for this. This is not what I signed up for. And no part of the recruitment video was this a thing. And so I feel for them, but at the end of the day, they're just cogs in the fascist machine, and they have to make a choice. And,
and not to excuse them because I'm not doing that, but like, maybe the people might get in turn like perceive it that way. I'm not making any kind of moral like statement here, but like there will always be people in the society that are poor enough that you can bribe into doing these positions, and
I was one of them
into doing these positions. So like if you're just not going to make an assessment of these like individuals at all, society will always have people who can essentially be either willingly jump into this spot, which is obviously worse, but then also people who could be like, well, I want to go to college, I want to have health care, I'd like to have a stable job for a certain amount of time. Well, I guess I could join the military, whatever they make me do.
That's me. Well, it wasn't that. Like for me,
by the way, WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3.
For me, the reason why I went to the deferred entry program at 17 years old and joined the Marine Corps was that here was my mindset. My mindset was like, okay, we haven't been in any kind of conflict since the Gulf War. And since we haven't been in any kind of conflict from the Gulf War, like, yeah, America's done a lot of bad stuff. I was I was at least a liberal as a child, right? And I was still interested in history the same way I am now. I didn't really just wake up one morning.
I want to put it like this: you did not have developed politics that you were committed to when you were a child.
No. Here's my thinking: is that we hadn't been in any kind of armed conflict since the Gulf War, and the Gulf War was sold as like, oh, we're protecting Kuwait. Which, okay, I mean, they did invade Kuwait, blah, blah, blah. Like, so that was the thing that happened. And that, look, the reason we haven't been in any armed conflict since the Gulf War is because we're not doing any more Vietnams. We're not lying. we're done with that. Yeah, our empire's locked in, but we're not trying to increase it.
They literally called it Vietnam syndrome.
Mm, yeah,
Remember? Yeah, they called it the sort of like, we're not doing that again, the Vietnam syndrome, and now we do it every
we
couple
do
of
it.
months. It
Yeah,
seems
we
like.
do it all the time.
Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
No, and so my thought was like, if we do get into another conflict, it'll be something righteous because we haven't gotten in any conflicts in 20 years, and I get to travel the world. That was my mindset, and I get to like get out of here, because my parents aren't paying for college. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I already see what's ahead of me. It's just like guys, working some, dicking around at some pizza delivery job, going to St. Petersburg Junior College for 30 years. And I'm like, it can't be me, dog. Like, I gotta go, And so that's what I did. And luckily, like I was never called on to do anything crazy. I got out pretty much right after 9/11. But I was always like, but the more I was in, the more I started learning. Because I would take things like the thing that the Marine Corps has over any other service is because they're so like up their own ass about history, about like we're the Marines and we are different. And it's like, yeah, we are. Like it's the most like elite, it's the most elite unit fighting force in America that you can walk in the door and get in, right? Yeah, without being tapped. Something like Delta or Force Recon in the Marine Corps or pararescue or something like that. Like you're a Marine, like you're doing stuff that like other services do not train for. Right. And so
in terms of like the broad branches, like Army, Navy, Air Force.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, you're yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, it's like, I don't know, it's nothing to be proud of, but it's just something that does set you apart. It's just like, okay, Marine Corps marksmanship. You're hitting, they train you how to put a rifle round, a 5.56 NATO ball through a man's chest from 5 football fields away. And you cannot be a Marine until you get that down with iron sights, no optics, right? So it's like the rest of the military is not, the other branches aren't doing that. My point is that, so they talk about Marine Corps history, from the halls of Montezuma to the swords of Tripoli, you'll fight our country's battles, land, air, sea.
Yeah.
And they talk about, I can name Marine Corps generals from, almost 100 years ago because they pump that stuff in your brain. And instead of just like letting that kind of stuff go, be like, okay, that was a weird, that's a tidbit that they made me memorize. I'm like, oh, let's learn about, Chesty Puller. Let's learn about, I don't know, blah, blah, just other Marine Corps generals. Let's learn about General Smedley D. Butler.
Oh, I knew you were going to go there.
Oh, we don't talk about him? Why is that?
Oops.
Oh, he wrote a book? Oh, what's this book? It's called Wars of Racket. Oh, okay. Because like that's the knowledge you get of General Butler is like, yeah, he was a guy who was in the Marine Corps, and you learned nothing else. Why?
He was a guy.
I'm showing my age because you're always training for the last war. I'm sure at Parris Island and I'm sure at Marine Corps Depot, San Diego, all the training is now based on Afghanistan. But when I was in boot camp in 99, all the training's based on Vietnam. So it's like, we'd go to like, okay, we're out here in the South Carolina woods, but we're camping out at, Way City tonight. And in the morning, we're going to go to the rifle range. And they're all named like these different battles that Marines were in Vietnam. And I'm like, oh, let me take a look at the Vietnam War. Oh, we were the bad guys. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. I didn't. And so it's like, it was weird that what radicalized me was just an actual interest in like, I kind of unbrainwashed myself. Yeah. And I'm not,
effect, doesn't it?
What's that?
Information, knowledge has that effect of sort of like clarifying analysis.
And I'm not alone.
Why they don't teach about this kind of stuff in school. Yeah. They don't teach about like actual contextual history. They sort of like remove everything from it. That's why they don't talk about unions in school.
Right.
Because they don't want anybody to know about these parts of our history that are like outside of what they want,
And I'm not alone. There's hundreds of thousands of guys just like me who were the same way, that they just, it's how they came in. They couldn't kill the liberal inside of me. They have a saying that like Marine Corps boot camp is 3 months. And there's a saying that 3 months can't fix 18 years. And I mean, I guess it's true.
It's
Because
100%.
if you're a dirtbag going in, you're going to be a dirtbag, with an Eagle Globe and Anchor on. If you're a decent person going in, you're going to be a decent person. And they didn't kill the liberal inside of me. All they did was like create a leftist. But yeah, I mean, you see how it happens. So I feel for these kids, but I'm walking down the street, taking my little lunchtime walk with my, don't F with me face on Canal Street. And these kids, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, are walking towards me in like a line of 4. And I'm just like staring this one kid right. And I'm like, I'm trying to communicate with my eyes. I am not moving. We're about to clash, because I'll be damned if I take one step to the side to let American military pass on my American street. I'm sorry, that's that old vet. The stuff that I did take from the vet. It's like, I am that crunchy old vet who's just like, what is this? I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that I supposedly gave up my liberty, my constitutional rights for a contracted amount of time that is never supposed to happen. You've got unarmed jump out boys, again, murdering innocent women. What are we talking? You got the kid who is just talking his God-given American right of just talking disrespectfully, talking ish to these goons. They grab him from his workplace at Target for no reason except that their penises are small and their feelings are hurt. They beat him, torture him, beat him to a pulp, and then dump him in a Walmart parking lot because they figured, oh, he's actually an American citizen, so it'd be too inconvenient to take him in. Oh, is this the West Bank, dog? I guess it is. And on that point, I'm checking in with you, my enlightened friend, because to that point, I'm like, if this is the West Bank, then I guess I'm joining the Lion's Den. I'm not a young lion, but I guess I'm joining the Lion's Den. My wife, my lovely pacifist wife saw a sign for Pontchartrain gun show this weekend. She goes, we're going. She said, we're going to that. She goes, it's time. I got to get over this. That's where we're at. And I'm like, I all I can say to her is like, yeah, you're right. Because it's not like, oh, we can't get violent or they're going to turn up the intensity. They're killing you anyway.
Yeah.
So from my history, the only thing that I've ever seen is that I've seen a woman get her face shot off for no reason. I've seen people black bagged and abducted. I see these dudes trying to get in fights with people with inflatable frog costumes.
It's pepper spraying
right?
up the
pepper spraying people in inflatable frog costumes. On one end, all were peaceful, all were exercising their constitutional rights, all were nonviolent. I've seen them be abused. I've seen them be killed, murdered in the most horrific fashion. On the other hand, I look at videos and I see the new Black Panther Party who have their safety sticks on them. And then all of a sudden, these goons start rethinking their life choices. All of a sudden, their riot line starts backing up. When in Louisiana or wherever it is, and you've got open carry, all of a sudden you've got 100 people armed with their safety weapons. All of a sudden the cops are like, oh, I guess we should do some police work. I guess we should follow the law. And I don't even want to call them cops. They're not even cops. That's the thing. These aren't even federal agents. They're barely federal.
Military.
They're federal agents in the worst. It's Crystal Knot. They're Gestapo. They're brown shirts. But all of a sudden, when they see that you're armed and they're armed, all of a sudden they get their minds right. All of a sudden they don't want to play no more. That's what I'm saying. And you can come at me, and I don't mean you personally. Any liberal can be like, I would say the same thing if we swapped you out right now with Noam Chomsky, Noam Chomsky would sit up here with his Epstein Island ass talking about, well, I always knew he was a Fed anyway, talking that foolishness about, oh, well, the state has a monopoly on violence, and if you escalate, that's all the reason they need. And I'm like, we're not living in the same reality. I can show you my theory of change. I can show you in 4K video where my logic is coming from. You are living in a cartoon world, and you're probably a Fed. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, and obviously the Epstein stuff as well. Even if he's right about some of that other stuff, which I'm not saying he is, Epstein stuff
right.
got him. The shame it took him until he was like 98 years old to get busted on that, but whatever. Um, yeah, and you're seeing people get popped in the streets. You're seeing them like going after kids at school, like that. What people don't realize, or a lot of people don't realize, that video of Jesse Ventura like walking up in Minnesota and talking about how everything is crazy is because and they ended up closing schools in Minnesota and Minneapolis because of this, because ICE agents are going after kids at like when they let school out, and they have confrontations with them, and I believe that they like tear gas the school in Minneapolis, and it's just like and they have kids doing walkouts. I mean, kids get it, and they're doing it the right way too. It's just that like, what are we doing here when you can't even have a kid go to school without having to have his head on a swivel?
Right.
Then how are you supposed to do anything? You're treating kids like they're criminals and going all the way up. And it's all based off of this stupid idea that because you were born somewhere else does means you don't belong here. Which, by the way, and I'm not Mr. like America, but like that's historically like a very anti-American position. And I think this is an important thing too, because like we talk about like we hate America or whatever, or we are critical of America and all this other stuff. These people literally hate the history of America and the people that live here. That's the difference, I think. They hate the people who live here. They want it to be changed because I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to make any argument that America does not have a history of like white supremacy and domination and all this other stuff, but like every single part of American history that's good comes from the diversity of the people that live here or move here or immigrate here or build the buildings or dig the ditches. They're all, for the most part, some of them are, but for the most part, they're all coming here from other places, and that's a part of that history that we're trying to erase.
I just had a discussion with a guy who's, I mean, I want to call him a light leftist. I don't want to call him out, by name, but like his job is leftist by name. Let's put it, he's an organizer, put it this way. And like, organizer. Yeah, he organized. And he was like, well, what I don't like is, people, come to this country and then they want to talk bad about it. And I'm like, well, brother, like, I'm like, show me on the map these people you're talking about from which country, and I'll show you how America hollowed out their country. Yeah. And he's like, well, but still. And I'm like, bro, if we're living across the street and you come burn my house down, don't get mad when I come live at yours and then spit in your eye. Like that's, I mean, I don't understand. Like, and obviously, like, talking ish about the country is literally written into the laws. And even if it wasn't, I could care less. Like, it's the correct thing to do when we're doing evil. So what are we talking about? And we never stop doing evil. So you will have a lifetime of content to farm with the evil that we do. And it's just like, I went to a resistance meeting the other night. I don't want to call them out either, because I don't want to, and these people are not liberals, but they also want to play nice, with people. And I'm like, the time is ended for that, to where it was about Venezuela. And it was one of those, like, I swear these guys might have been feds. There's like a 0 chance. And they wanted to start talking about, well, if you're anti-war, then like we're Venezuelan. And if you're anti-war, then you should be for Maduro. And I'm like, bro, you sound like a fed. This is record behavior. I didn't know people like you actually existed. It was like a means.tv skit with Venezuela. Like, when me and my parents, we fled from Venezuela, from our family's slave plantation. And I'm like, people like you actually exist? And I'm like, either you're a fed or I want you to go back to Venezuela so they can do what needs to be done to you. How about that? And I'm just like, and these poor people, on the left, they're leftists, they're social, they're dyed in the wood red socialists, and they're just trying to be chill. And I'm said, and they're just getting like more and more, and they're like, well, let's go outside. And I just said, look, bro, I go, I'm tired. I said, I'm not with these people, so I can speak for myself. I'm tired. I didn't come here to sit I don't want to be sitting here in a meeting on a Tuesday night. Everybody here is working people. I'm tired. These people are trying to de-escalate. I'm not trying to de-escalate. I'm trying to escalate. So we can go outside and bang it out because that's going to get my energies out. And they shut up. And then they finally kicked them out or whatever. But I'm just like, even in leftist spaces, like, it seems like people aren't meeting the mark. And I'm not saying people need to like tonight go and do something crazy. Like, everybody has a role to play. What I'm trying to say is like, okay, I had another conversation. I know I'm talking in circles, but I had another conversation with a woman who's like, man, I'm sorry, I can't do more, blah, 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 a woman I know. And I'm like, you have 2 daughters. Your job is to raise these kids. That is your role. And if something happens to me or anybody else tell your daughters our story. That's what you need to do. I go, my role is different. Whatever that is. But it's like, don't feel bad, but it's like the way people are not understanding the moment. Like, the way people are still just being like, well, if we do this, then Trump will do that. And I wonder what they don't need excuses. They're shooting white women in the face. I know that sounds crazy.
No, it's not.
When you sit down with it and unpack it, you need to understand where we are at. Mm-hmm. And we're not voting our way out of this. And please push back. But the Democrat, I went to a protest the other day, and these little old ladies, God bless them, because they're doing more. They're libs, but they're doing more than 99% of the people. But I'm just looking at their little signs, being like, the midterms are coming up, and I'm just like, I have to rationalize in my head. Is like, the reason why I'm out here is to protect people like this. Because people like this are the people like, Miss Good, the people who are getting preyed on. So if I'm out here and putting my body in between these liberals who think that voting is going to save us, then, that's my role. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I feel so bad for y'all. And it's like, it's a combination of just like, I'm a little old lady. What am I going to do? And I don't expect much from them, but people our age, and the people in my quote unquote leftist circles who are still just yapping on Facebook, being like, well, Donald Trump is a poopy McPoopy head. And I'm just like, delete your whole account. Like, just delete your whole account, because this is a waste of everybody's time. You need to be getting organized, whatever that means to you. You need to be stop talking like a Fed. I'm talking like a Fed now because it's too late for me. I was in the Marine Corps. I was a cop. My DNA is literally in the system. I'm leaving for Costa Rica supposedly in like a month from now. I'm pretty sure at a minimum, I'm not going to get the return flight back in from if we're not coming in New Orleans, which we're not doing a direct in New Orleans. Wherever it is, I'm gonna be there all day with Homeland. I'm almost positive of it. If not, then wow, I'll be shocked. But I've already thought about, I'm gonna do like dead drop mess. When I say dead drop, I'm telling people, I'm gonna tell my boss, I'm telling my parents, I'm telling anybody who I feel is responsible. If I do not check in with you by midnight on this day, you need to start banging the gong, figuring out where I'm at. Because that's where we're at. We're here. We're not heading towards fascism. I saw, God bless them too. I watched Sam Cedar, Unc, and Ken Klippenstein of all people talking about, what if, if the Democrats and they can get a bill passed that, that makes it so ICE can't wear their masks. And I'm just like, what are y'all talking about? Y'all are living again in a cartoon world. They don't care about that. You got the city of Minnesota talking about how they're going to sue. They're going to sue border enforcement or whatever, Border Patrol and ICE. They don't care about your lawsuits, dog. They don't care about none of that. The lawless does not care about laws. You're seeing this. They blasted that woman in the face. They're snatching people off the streets. They're snatching American citizens off the streets. The lawless don't care about laws. So you should not have no mercy for the merciless. Whatever that means to you is whatever it means.
Yeah, I'm trying to just sort of like think of like what can actually get this off, because I'm not gonna try and make the Chomsky argument of like state state monopoly on violence or anything like that, but like what does a victory in this situation even look like in Minnesota?
Honestly,
right now
I think it's general strike, dude. I think it's general strike.
How do we get to that point?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the question. And that's the question I want to ask these organizer kids the next time I meet them. I'm like, okay, let's say you get your dream. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like, I'll get this out and you got the rest of the time. Let's say you get your dream and you get millions of people in the streets mobilized against anti-war. No war in Iran, no war in Venezuela, ICE out everywhere, abolish ICE, right? Let's say you get that. That's your wet dream. I'm old enough to remember we did that for the Iraq war, and it was meaningless. They didn't care about it because we didn't shut anything down. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
So I guess that's sort of like the question, because as of right now, the working class in this country, while workers do have power, workers are not organized to the capacity that it would take to do a general strike. But I guess that's not to say that no victory is possible. I'm just sort of thinking about like, okay, if ICE pulls out of Minnesota, that would be at least a victory in the short term, right? How do you get that to happen? And I'm just sort of like thinking in terms of like benchmarks of at least on the ground in front of us, looking at the things that we can do, putting one foot in front of the other to actually move this ball forward. Because that's the big question for me is, if the goal or if the demand is like, in the short term, get ICE out of all these American cities, how do you do that? What's the way you do that to make that happen? And I do think, to at least a certain extent, and it really does suck that it took, that lady getting popped twice in the face, 3 times in the face, and dying for the community to mobilize around it. But now they want them out. You see other white ladies, probably because they sort of see at least themselves that could have been at the other end of that, the end of that gun, that are going out there and wilding out. And that is something. And I'm definitely not trying to be gloom and doom about this. I'm trying to think about this as soberly as possible and as a way to sort of develop a strategy to at least make some progress. To at least
what I would say as an answer to that, with the time we have left, with the answer to that in Minnesota, and I don't mean to poo-poo any organizer that's on the ground in Minnesota. You're doing God's work. You're doing the best you possibly can. But what I would do if I could press a button, I had motion like that there, I would stop protesting ICE. I would pull out. I would no more ICE protests. Get that out of the street. What we do is we take all the people who are protesting ICE and we go to we go to the governor's mansion, and we go to Minneapolis City Hall. And you demand 2 things, because these liberals actually do care about protests. You got to go where it's actually effective. And you demand 2 things from the city council and from the mayor of Minneapolis. You want the police, the Minneapolis PD, on the street in between you and ICE, protecting their citizens against ICE, ready to arrest or use lethal force to protect their citizens. And from Tim Walz, the coward, I can't stand this guy. I understand why he got back. I understand not why he got back pocketed. I understand why he was even picked to be VP. It's because he was fronting the whole time. But what you do is you go to the governor's mansion and you protest there, and you demand that Tim Walz mobilizes the National Guard against ICE. That's what you do. That's where I think you could actually move things. They would actually. And there is,
while that is, I mean, maybe it's on the table, maybe that's behind the scenes or whatever. There is actually a call for a shutdown of Minneapolis on the 23rd of January. Okay. I don't know if you had heard about that.
No, not at all. This is hardcore.
Yeah, so just reading from In These Times, um, following the ICE murder of Renee Gold and an assault on state by federal immigration forces, the Labor Community Coalition is calling for residents to refuse work, shop, or go to school on January 23rd. Um, Quote, this is from a rideshare driver. We're facing a tsunami of hate from our own federal government, said Abdi Karim Kasim. Sorry, Abdi Karim, for butchering your name. Who's a rideshare driver. He told to a crowd, "We're going to shut it down on the 23rd. We're going to overcome this." Janae Bates Amari, representative of the church of a church in there, says, "Quote, a day when every single Minnesotan who loves this state, who loves the idea of truth and freedom, will refuse to work, shop, and go to school. We're asking every single person, every single family member, every teacher, every bus driver, every child care worker to come together, to be in community, and to stand with each other." So we got the Amalgamated Transit Union, Local 1005, SEIU, Local 26, Unite Here, Local 17, CWA, Local 7250, and the St. Paul Federation of Teachers, Local 28. People from all of those people from groups are, signing on to do a part of this. While it will be I want to sort of manage expectations on this, because like if you expect that would be awesome if the entire city of Minneapolis was actually shut down. But what you will see is a significant downtick in economic activity. You'll see a significant downtick in people going to school, and that is at least in this short term, because that's 9 days from now
No,
as of recording.
as a
That's
cynical
something.
SOB, it's not
It's
something. It's not
something.
just something. As a cynical SOB, like I'm not kidding. That's Hope Corps. Like that's the
Mhm.
kind of actions that need to be taken. Like there's only two things that fascists care about. They care about you messing with their safety, and they care about you messing with their money. That's
Mhm.
it. Everything else is nonsense and noise. So no, I'm fully behind this. If there was some kind of way to like this hopefully this will be effective, and it can be transferred to other cities. If we could set up nationwide some kind of a general fund that we all donate to, and then to help people out. So if they have to shut it down, they shut it down for a week, a month, 6 months, a year, that we can donate and help people who like are not going to work to make ends meet. I'm completely behind this. I'm completely behind nonviolent action.
And again, regardless of the success of this, or at least like the full success, at least it's good to see people thinking about this and moving towards action in that direction. You're never going to get to the point where you can actually shut everything down entirely without, one, having the unions on board, and there were a significant number of unions on there, and two, doing these kinds of things. Like first time you try something, it's never going to be perfect. But if you
Mhm.
keep doing it, you're going to build that capacity, build that power, and move it forward. We got to get out of here.
We got to go though. It's
But
good
yeah,
times.
thanks for listening to Good Morning Comrade. This is WHIVLP New Orleans, this space, and we love you. Bye bye.
Bye.